Which propaganda effort was so successful, people still believe it today? Hey yo, it's AskReddit channel. That fat is the thing to avoid in foods taking away the spotlight from sugar. And the replies to this confirm it. This seriously may be the most blatant and effective use of propaganda in the modern era, and it's infuriating. Even though we now have the legitimate science and access to information on the subject, it's become so built into our understanding of nutrition that people just can't seem to fully accept that dietary fat isn't gonna clog their arteries like grease down a drain. Lie detector tests are accurate. They're junk science at best. People, when the inventor of the device and procedures used is on record saying it's, we should probably listen. Looking at you, Florida, for allowing LD test results as evidence in court. They're such horse. I lost my job as a government contractor because of a lie detector test. I wasn't lying. The test just made me nervous as. I remember someone told me one of their questions was along the lines of, if you have a choice of saving your family or the Prime Minister, would you choose the Prime Minister? How can anyone answer that without stressing out? The Armenian genocide never happened. My Turkish friends still believe this. President Erdogan wants to know your location. I am from Germany, and some of my grandparents still believe the stuff they were told about Jews by the Nazis. Like when a Jewish person dies. On a Christian holiday, they get hung behind the door and everyone who comes in has to spit on him. It's some vile stuff. I can't believe how they were spoon-fed with this in their early years. Edit. Another one I remember is that they were told that at a Jewish funeral, the dead person gets a stone put in their pocket, so if they cross Jesus in the afterlife, they can throw it at him. Drinking fountains are unhealthy. The Bottled Beverage Industry commissioned and publicized a series of studies in the early 1990s when they decided to get into the bottled water business. The problem was that their largest competitor was free and available in schools, parks, and public buildings everywhere. Anyone who took even a semester of biology knows that. If you walk around and swab and culture anything, you'll find that it's covered in bacteria. That's ecology on planet Earth. Nestle done a smear campaign saying formula feeding is best. They mainly done it in third world countries. Nestle owns majority of formula companies, so they got rich and uneducated third world counties suffered, as they would rather use this healthier option but made it with dirty water, meaning children died, which wasn't needed as most have no issue making breast milk. Nestle is amongst the most evil companies in the world, and they're still doing these messed up practices today. The way they monopolize water sources should be outright illegal. Apparently in the 80s, KFC ran a Christmas-themed ad in Japan. And to this day, the Japanese eat KFC on Christmas. When I was in Japan on Christmas, I won some dumb quiz at a party and they gave me fried chicken because they believed that was our traditional Christmas food. It was ridiculous, and it is one of those really odd memories of mine. Engagement rings are required for marriage. In Germany, you buy one ring. When you are engaged, you wear it on the left hand. When married, you switch it to the right. Very practical. I always liked this tradition. Instead of forcing the young people to buy an expensive engagement ring, they can put that money into starting their life together or on their wedding. That teeth are supposed to be perfectly white. People should know that a healthy set of teeth doesn't mean they're perfectly white. Super white teeth are not even normal. Our enamel will slowly become more translucent as we age, revealing the color of the dentin, which is yellow underneath it. That's why as we get older, our teeth will become yellower. Doesn't mean they're not healthy or unclean. Many Korean people believe that fans can cause death. Even my mother, who moved to America in her mid-teens, still prohibits me from leaving a fan on overnight for fear of death. There is a conspiracy theory that the South Korean government spread this myth as propaganda to prevent energy overusage, but its origins are unknown. It's strange that many Koreans believe this myth, considering it is one of the most technologically advanced countries. It's a real danger. Remember, John Lennon was killed by a fan. When Edward Bernays, the father of public relations, literally renamed propaganda that we want people to think is not bad to public relations and advertising. And he literally admitted it in a book he made called Propaganda. Propaganda is, quite literally, just media that is attempting to persuade you. It might be honest or dishonest, but no matter what, it is still propaganda. Carrots make your vision better. This rumor was started in WW to hide the invention of radar. The public was told that Allied pilots found the German bombers during the Blitz because they had good eyesight because they ate their carrots. But in reality, it was that the British had an early radar system in place that they did not want the Germans to find out about and bomb. To be fair, a vitamin deficiency will cause vision problems, and carrots are a good source of vitamin A. I think this propaganda was partially built on the pseudoscience that an overdose of vitamins provides superhuman abilities. That big curvy line of toothpaste with a Dairy Queen curl we've seen in every toothpaste ad. You don't need more than a pea-sized smear of paste on your brush. MSG will kill you and is horrible to ingest. I'm allergic to MSG, really. It is delicious and your body produces it naturally while breaking down regular salt. Some people do have sodium issues and it may not be good for them, but that's a tiny micro percentage of people. There's MSG in breast milk, tomatoes and Parmesan cheese, etc., etc. It is a natural component of most protein-containing foods. That Napoleon Bonaparte was short. He was 5 feet and 7 inches tall, which might be a little bit on the shorter side by modern standards, but it was around the average height for people back then. The idea that he was short actually came from a British propaganda campaign to mock him. That turning the light on in the back seat of the car is illegal. Knuckle cracking gives you arthritis. Diamonds is a symbol of eternal love. Also, the belief that diamonds are rare, when in reality it's because they are artificially scarce. Nixon's drug campaign. Do you mean his anti-drug crusade, or the fact that the CIA was the global drug trade at that point? Autism and vaccines. The original guy wanted to advertise his own vaccine but did not disclose this when he published a hit piece on the mainstream vaccine at the time. In a reputable journal, his alternative vaccine failed. His paper was bashed and ultimately retracted. Yet people smart enough to work at Google don't vaccinate their kids. The lie that nuclear power is terrible. It is worse than renewables. However, instead of chucking huge quantities of dangerous waste into the air like a coal power plant, it can all be contained, and 95% can be reprocessed into new fuel. In the 60s and 70s, a lot of oil giants used advertising to link its reputation to the very real danger of nuclear weapons. And if this hadn't have happened, global warming would have been much less of an issue. Very few people realize that coal power actually causes more deaths per MW than nuclear power do to nitrous oxide emissions, even when Chernobyl is included in the statistics. Edit. A lot of people are saying that nuclear is as good, or possibly better than renewables. I agree that at the moment, for baseline power, it is better, and we should be using it a lot more. In the long term, though, I think that renewable are a better solution due to not needing refueling, and needing less oversight once production of the power plants themselves becomes cleaner and better storage solutions are devised. Columbus was the only person who believed the world was round. Literally everyone who could read knew that the earth was round. Nobody thought Columbus would fall off the edge. They thought his crew would starve to death before reaching the East Indies. And he totally would have. Camels don't store water in their humps. They store fat in their humps. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and that cereal, toast, sugary things are part of a balanced breakfast. Know plenty of people who function perfectly without eating anything for breakfast. That the old woman who sued McDonald's over burning herself with her coffee was just money hungry for clarity. An elderly woman was a passenger in a car, pulled over in the lot to add sugar after getting a coffee, and it spilled all over her lap. It burned her really bad, and she just set out to get McDonald's. To pay her hospital bills, they served the coffee way too hot. They ended up launching this whole PR campaign where they smeared this poor lady, even taking out spots in local papers over how silly and money hungry she was. Comedians, musicians, and radio hosts made fun of her and made her out to be money hungry instead of a victim. That you only use 10% of your brain. In reality, you use pretty much all your brain capacity, as so neuroscience has proven quite thoroughly. You know what it's called when you're using 100% of your brain at the same time? A seizure. The war on drugs. Prematurely illegalized drugs we didn't understand and hadn't had the chance to do a lot of research on psychedelics and weed. Mainly, and created a black hole of misinformation and mistrust by the public, as well as removed funding for drugs that now, thanks to private funding, we're realizing can have hugely positive effects when dealing with mental health. That a four-year college education is the only way you'll succeed in life. That Iraq had something to do with 9/11s. Jesus, this really shouldn't be so far down. I think something like 60% of people still believe this. The American public was straight up lied to, and hundreds of thousands of people died as a result. That you are responsible for global warming and littering, dumping, not the giant companies with billions of dollars to cover up their crimes. I'm sorry, my friends. Your efforts to prevent climate change affect almost nothing. Imagine filling all the oceans with pennies. The efforts you make in your lifetime to fix our environment is like removing a single penny from all those pennies in the ocean. But if the government regulated giant companies like BP, Pfizer, and ExxonMobil, we could remove every single penny from something like the Pacific Ocean. In 47 of the 50 states, your tax dollars do not go towards unemployment, and yet that myth persists. Thanks for watching. Share your stories in the comments.